Ah, nice. Good morning. How you guys doing? Sorry I was a little late. Feeling alright. A little bit better. Cough's getting better. Hey Jen, how you doing? I'm doing a bit better. Yeah. Feeling better. More energy. I got out a little bit yesterday, which kind of broke up the cough. And then I think I got like a flu and simultaneously got like the new strain of COVID. So that was fun. But yeah, it's clearing up. Oh no. Yeah. Overachieving per usual. It was the razor blades in the throat feeling that clued me in. But I took COVID tests and they all came up negative, so I'm not entirely sure. That's because I am. Sometimes it takes a while before it shows. Yeah, yeah, I know. Also, the COVID tests that I have at my house are like a year and a half old and definitely expired. So, you guys want to talk about? You guys want to talk about stocks? You got stocks you want to talk about? Can you talk KVU? Yeah, we can, since everyone's talking about it. Why not? So, I don't know how many like anti-vax moms are gonna try to sue Johnson and Johnson or well KVU now, but I'm gonna assume some number of them. I'm also probably gonna assume that most of those lawsuits are gonna be considered frivolous and thrown out of court. There's no evidentiary support to the president's claims about Tylenol, and so any value lost in their stock from when this all started also seems unsubstantiated. I would assume that, they will probably turn these losses back around. I mean, it's Kenvue's still, like basically all of Johnson's over the counter products, tied up with a bunch of their legal debt. And they've been doing good. I mean, like their margins have been staying at, 8 to 10%, which is kind of what's expected. They're legacy, beyond legacy products. So there's very little like market share to be gained or lost there, but I would say that, they're probably a little undervalued. I know the last time I bought Kenvue was back after, like right after the Johnson and Johnson like split. Um and it was what, like I think that was October, somewhere in there. And it was around like 18 bucks. And it got some pretty good price improvement. I think I got out of it back in like December or something. Um Definitely didn't have it in Jan. Yeah, I think it was either December or November. I'd have to go back and look. I like how J&J is at all-time highs during all of this. Yeah, well, they don't have any exposure to it. That's why they shed all that stuff. That and the legal debt from all the talc lawsuits. They didn't come clean. It's the correlation was only found in women who were chronically taking Tylenol during pregnancy, which is already not recommended. And even that correlation wasn't very strong. And it's based off of like survey studies, not any specific groups. It's bullshit. Don't you work in the medical field as like a CNA or something? I don't know what you do. Tesla. It's a secret. I'm gonna assume it's not on the research side. What's wrong with autism? Fuck you. Rude. Autism's brought us all our greatest things. The atom bomb. Fucking neurotypicals. Yeah. They just want everybody to be as stupid as them. See, there it is. There's the real story. I don't want them to be able to outtrade me. Yeah, well, get fucked. That's kind of this different Blanca, but that's cool too. Yeah, there's no conclusive studies that show any kind of the strongest correlation showed that 1.42% of children exposed to acetaminophen during pregnancy ended up autistic. Anyway, since the claims are meritless, and I think most people are well aware that the claims are meritless, I would expect that if their earnings remain in line and they don't see too big of a hit on the sales side. These are over-the-counter medications, and they are subject to, the consumer sentiment. So that is a risk that is probably being factored into the current price. However, the number of pregnant women who take Tylenol, um, and then the number of pregnant women that are going to stop taking Tylenol due to, the president just simply talking shit is probably a very small group of people. So I don't think it's going to hit their sales too hard. And then everyone else who's in pain and takes Tylenol is going to keep fucking taking it because there's not an alternative. Checking my neglected port, HAL, DVN, SROF, all decent. Yeah, they're all doing pretty well. The energy trade's picking up a little bit of steam, and oil's been moving up. We actually talked about that quite a bit on the podcast recently. We were discussing some of the reasons for that. There's a lot of there's a lot of fear and big short positions in oil. So um, there is a big worry that OPEC will want to start re-implementing production cuts in order to bring oil prices up to a level where they would prefer to sell oil. Can you look at SoFi? Sure. Also, the dividend on KV is quite nice, but the payout ratio is excessively high. So, what about it? I think SoFi is overexposed to student loan defaults personally, but they've been doing well. Finally, what's the podcast called? There's a link for it in the announcements channel, but here I'll post. I'll just post the link if I can find it. There you go. Yeah. Is everyone on fucking Tylenol? I don't know. I don't even take Tylenol. Doesn't do anything, usually. Bad for your liver. SoFi kind of looks like it's topping out a little bit. I don't think the rate environment affects them too much, but I would keep an eye on student loan defaults, like how many days past due. They have a ton of exposure there. Also, some auto lending, I think, as well. But other than that, they seem to be doing okay. I mean, margins have been meh. Um, but I think the last like 7 quarters, they've been surprising to the upside on earnings. Technically, it looks like it's kind of starting to top a little bit. You look for a breakdown at like 26 to maybe confirm something. Looks kind of boring. It's just trading in a trend. Maybe if the trend breaks, things will get more interesting, but hasn't done it yet. Close. Can you talk about Constellation at some point? I bought them as an increase in unemployment play, but underestimated the deportation impact. Hmm. SEG? Wait, which Constellation? What the fuck would SEG have to do with unemployment? No, Ulti's shit. I wouldn't buy Ulti right now. VIX barely went up. Is everyone fucking Tylenol? Oh, I just didn't say anything because of your dyslexia. I didn't know that was intentional. I was trying to be sensitive. God. Constellation Brands. Just give me a ticker next time. What do they sell? So you thought people would become unemployed and start drinking more? Is this the company that makes the gas station wines? Headquartered in Rochester, New York. Distribution of beer, wine, and spirits. Okay. There are gas station wines? Yeah, they taste just like the expensive ones. Um, huh. I think what you're targeting is not something that's quite happened yet, which is that um vices, gambling, smoking, drinking, pick up when there's a broad recession, as people who are depressed try to lose their money faster than simply the rate of their cost of living. So, no, I don't particularly think that we're in that situation yet. And Constellation did not do very well in the last recession at all. Most of their growth was, in line with S&P growth up until like 2017, where it really just stopped growing entirely. Their payout ratio is a bit high. Maybe if they cut their dividend, there would be a buying opportunity, but I'm not sure why. Maybe too much craft beer and not enough variable price points, but yeah, their growth has been kind of shit for a while. Yeah, there was the impact from legalization of marijuana, which really started to hurt alcohol sales right around 2017, 2018. So, so far it looks kind of locally like it's topping a bit, but I'm not sure that's going to lead to any kind of drawdown or anything. Possibly they're just participating in markets that are just overly saturated. I will say, relative to the last, 8 years, the price of the stock right now is fairly cheap. I don't know enough about them specifically in that sector to say that definitively that their stock price is currently cheap, but technically it is. I just went over SoFi like a few minutes ago, by the way. I guess maybe before you hopped on, Rambo. Carvana was dumping, but caught support again. I think the market's probably going to bounce tomorrow or continue bouncing because we don't have any data. So I probably wouldn't want to be short Carvana tomorrow. We could take a look at the options data on that one though. It's probably more worthwhile. Mm, hmm. I think there's probably already some short-term put selling. Looks like Ivy's picking up to the upside out to like 445. Um, over to the downside, starting to flatten out a little bit. Earnings in a few weeks, right? Yeah, end of October. So it looks like volatility for that picks up quite a bit after 1024. So there's definitely like a long vol play there into earnings and interest building to the upside from spot. I mean, quite a lot of it on the near term IV. You can see that there. A big uptick in vol across the entirety of the surface the week before earnings. So those earnings are definitely highly anticipated. Um, so if you're going to target the upside here, you'd probably want to be between now and 1024, or do you want to buy options post earnings, which are quite expensive? Um, hasn't quite bottomed out on the gamma, but looks like there's a bump in gamma upside at 7250. Another little uptick at 8250, and then plenty of positive gamma to the upside of spot delta. Mm, up to like 380, and then a little tough to move higher, but like also 400. So 380 to 400's probably a little choppy, but we got a pretty straight shot to 380 from spot. Gamma out there is maybe a little bit better. Some more gamma building around like 85, 90, 9250, and then out of 400. Um, Gamma max is 394.11. So yeah, I could see it bouncing again. Maybe watch the prior resistance on the technical side at like 380, 382 ish, which would kind of line up with what we were just looking at on the gamma curve. But at least, I don't know. It's not bad. Like for weeklies, a $10 move to the upside would be nuts. So I don't hate it. A little bullish. Yeah, the move up in GN, move down in DN is a bit strange. Oklo? Looks like it's getting ready to dump. Didn't catch much support on Friday. Gapped down under gamma neutral. Looked like it pushed a new low Friday and held at that low. Delta coming off the chain pretty quickly. Gamma snapped back a little bit, still flat. Also, skew adjusted gamma is positive, which is weird. Usually not very bullish. Hmm. Hmm. Support at 105 and 100. Putting a positive delta to squeeze off to the downside. Although further from spot, mostly. Hmm. Still some interest at like 105. Under 100, IV picks up quite a bit. Let's skew here. Yeah, skew's still moving a little bit more positive on the 10 and the 30. 30's already positive. 10 not quite so much. Um, I would say that Ivy is starting to get a little bit underpriced. Quite a bit on the 10 day, a little bit on the 30. But that may continue for a little while until Ivy crushes out. Mm. Yeah, well, I'll say this. It doesn't have a lot more room down, but I don't think it's ready to move back up yet. Maybe about 10, $13 room to the downside, but probably needs to trade in that range for a little while in order to pick up any kind of upside interest, which does seem to be pretty weak right now. This might be something where like wait for a low and then see if you can sell puts, or Well, like that 100 test or whatever. Or you could try to short it down to the 100 test. It's a little risky because the range is not that great. Or I guess you could wait till it breaks back above like 120 and try to target the upside move. But that might be a little while. GLW 15% over GM. It's been over GM for quite some time. I'm not sure that's where GM is anymore. GM's roughly at spot. Yeah, this is just an illiquid chain. I mean, I will say it doesn't look like it's been moving up a lot more. So there could be some bear call opportunities there. Some deltas falling off the chain, not a ton. Um, it doesn't look like there's a ton of interest to the upside. There's big resistance at 80 and almost no delta out above 80. So it's probably a decent range. Like above 80 is probably a fairly decent range to sell bear spreads. However, keep in mind that it is just kind of an illiquid chain and also basically just at gamma max, not really above it. On illiquid chains, you need to come check like the gamma curve. GME? Yeah, sure, we can take a look. Did it do anything after it broke gamma max, or did it just fall back? Looks like GM's out at above 30, roughly. 27, 30. All right. Well, Max Gex is out at 30. It's not really picking up any substantial amounts of delta. Not a lot of buyers. Ivy's still pricing it down moving forward. There's a little bit of demand at the 27, 29 strikes, but not a ton. I would say a breakout above 27, probably a little bit bullish. Maybe it could run out to like $30 or so. But on the other side of GME, things don't look particularly great. Not a lot of covering. Volatility picked back up again on Friday, but it also kind of just looks like a head and shoulders. BTC correlation fell negative. The slight uptick in positive correlation with XRT also dropped off. There should be ETF FTDs due on GME over the next like week and a half. So maybe like out to the 7th or 8th of October. Um, that's usually when those start to come in. So I would say if it can hold the higher volatility, maybe it could push out to 30 briefly. Probably won't hold 30 for very long. Also, pretty liquid. Tips didn't cross. Although they don't really do that anymore. Yeah, there's some XRT covering. There's some IJH covering. That still seems to be somewhat ongoing. So it's got a little room to the upside, not a ton. Upstart. Ooh. Start actually might look a little bit spicy. Where did Upstart bottom? 4 hour. 47, 43. So roughly around where it is now. I don't know, 56. Looks like I picked up some sold puts at 55, 57. This is pretty negative gamma over the next couple of expirations. Delta 2. Breakout above 60 would be pretty bullish. Could run out to like 65, 68 to the upside. Skew was starting to turn a little bit more negative. Not there yet. Still a bit more demand at 55 than 60. So I don't think it's quite ready to bounce. But it does look like maybe the 55 level will be where it bounces from. And maybe want like a little bit of theta on it. Don't like that. It's pretty good. Looks like there's been a pretty decent amount of in the money profit taking on puts, at least for this week. There's some out of the money puts coming in, a little further dated, but those are probably sold. There's some at the money and slightly like out to 60, some interest on the call side. 61, 62. Out above 62, it really does kind of thin off a bit though. Yeah, so maybe like upside target like 62, something like that. Might need to chop a little bit more before bouncing back, and then I'll check it in a few days and see if interest to the upside is picking up. It doesn't look bad. It looks stable at its current price, or well, between its current price and 55. Yeah, some all of its two gamma maxes. Guess those will become more tempered. This doesn't look that bullish, to be honest. Hmm. Not a lot of support down to 900. I assume they have some earnings coming up soon. When's earnings? October 25th. Obviously, very high expectations for earnings, given that it's fucking up like 32% in the last couple weeks. Might be a bit overextended here. Just left a shitload of gaps to the downside. Uh, hmm. 30-day skews starting to turn around. 10-day skew already is. Still a little bit of positive carry on long vol and the 10, between the 10 and the back month HB front month. Quite a lot of positive carry on long vol for the HV30. I don't know. With the earnings so close, maybe it's just not worth it. Earnings is 2 weeks from now. You're gonna have to start dealing with the rise in volatility going into earnings pretty soon. And interests like on either side of spots kind of mixed. I would say it looks like it could pull back to like 9. And then maybe stabilize there. I'm not sure it would realize the entirety of that pullback though. That might be like roughly GN at the time. This is a very illiquid stock, at least as far as its options market's concerned. I think it's just kind of illiquid in general. Like 393 million shares and like $300 billion valuation. I'm not sure if there's room to the downside from here. There's a ton of room to the downside from here, but why is it gonna move down? Seems to be pretty fucking stable. I guess some of the some of the supportive interest fell off. It's kind of propped up here by 17, 50, 18. Shit, maybe like looks like it's all out on like November and leap expiry is not falling off anytime soon. A little bit of the put interest at 20 falls off in this month's OPEX. But it looks, I mean, it's pretty stable. Maybe if it lost 17, it'd be a little bit more interesting. But nah, I don't think it's gonna move a whole lot. No worries, Haywood.
Gorilla Mode put their pickle in my jar. Sup Gurk, my message doesn't fit. Can you please check DM5?
My message doesn't fit on Ko-Fi. Can you please check DM? Yeah, sure. Shoot. Got it. I swear to God, if you send me cock, I'm allowed. Okay. I was listening to Volstar's episode on Spotify. Where can I go to really learn this stuff and be on the same page with you guys? I want to build critical thinking skill to use that ties to macro, the Fed, the economy, monetary policy, bond markets at a global scale. Greg mentioned China deflating the U.S. consumers benefiting from cheaper goods, or all of the intricacies of the oil trade and its consequences and intentions of the OPEC to be aware of the macro dynamics. How difficult is this? Where does one go to get this information? Fuck. I actually, I don't know if they're in there, but I do recommend some books on macroeconomics for people that are actually interested in that, which is generally very few. I'm not sure if they're in the book list on the Discord. They're not. Hold on. I'll throw them in there. Give me 2 seconds. Some of it's also, just time in the markets. Um, being exposed to the shit constantly kind of makes you very comfortable with observing the dynamics in it. But I will add these. These are good. Exploring General Equilibrium by Fisher Black is arguably one of my favorite books on economics, if not my favorite. Um, but yeah, I mean, being around it, I mean, I was an analyst initially, and so I got moved around a lot because that's what they do with analysts because they want you to get exposure, and so you spend a lot of time rapidly picking up new markets and market dynamics and learning the intricacies of them before they move you on to a different one. It's kind of the training process. So having that in my back pocket is nice. Um, I think JFresh and Dork are kind of like at a hobbyist interest level in a lot of that stuff, but they're interested in it and they're both very inquisitive people. So if there's something they don't know, they'll look it up and learn more, and that's definitely helped them over the last few years become a lot more knowledgeable. No, he knows so many more words than cock. I know. I was also surprised. I just listen to the podcast and follow along, try to understand as much as I can, and agree with a lot of it. But at the end, I don't understand it, and it makes me feel like I did something productive by listening, but maybe I didn't. Should I worry about learning about this, or should I focus on mastering Gamma Strike? I'm primarily trading, but also do not want to follow along and not understand when you and the team goes on stream. Thanks for the help. Yeah, no problem. I get that, and some of this you're gonna learn over time too. I mean, there's a lot of people in here that didn't know fucking anything about any of this stuff, carry trades and oil trades and FX markets and global monetary policy and how all of these things are tied together, and what effect they have, and for the vast majority of people, it also doesn't matter, but having some understanding of it can open up, the opportunity for making a lot of money, especially if you see a flaw in the thesis of the status quo. Like I was long vol following the Fed meeting because of what I understand about macroeconomics, and not, I mean, like, I was also long vol because, the short vol position was getting crunched, but, I knew that the bull thesis was over exuberant. And even though we didn't get a huge correction off of it, we got somewhat of a correction, and you can make a lot of money leveraging into, high confidence macro moves like that. The ticker's name is right there. Yeah, maybe we can have the chart display the name of the ticker also. I guess it's a little small for streaming it. I could talk to the guys, see if we want to throw something up. Yeah, I get that. That's because I have the disclaimer up there too. Yeah, anytime gorilla mode. I hope that helps. Definitely check out those books though if you're really interested in that. And then get into reading, pundits and news articles and opinions on those markets and those subjects. To take all of them with a grain of salt. Most analysts are usually wrong. So, but you know, listen to them all the same. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe we just throw something in the watermark. Like, just throw the ticker in the watermark so you guys can see it. I also just love that shit. So for me, it's not so much that I'm trading it all the time. I just like knowing about it because it's fun. I mean, the entire world is run by financial markets, every single aspect of it. And people, think it's governments and democracy, and it's really just none of that. It's greed and money. Spencer, welcome to Zillionaire. Thank you so much, man. Hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you added to the country club once I'm done with the stream. Appreciate it. I would argue in that way that the financial markets lend transparency to many, many things which are not, or intentionally obfuscated. But I think that's also just like the way I look at the world through that lens, which probably isn't healthy, but all right. What else? We got more tickers. You guys want to talk about the upcoming week? How did people like Pickles Picks as a video? I'm not gonna lie, I quite enjoy running through all of the charts in 15 minutes rather than screenshotting everything and typing it up over, an hour and a half. Which is does open up more time for me to like look at equities or do more macro analysis, stuff like that. Bad. I didn't really think of it as like an option previously because like my initial reaction to it was like, oh, this isn't searchable, it's fucking useless. But I thought maybe for certain aspects of Pickles Picks it does solve a time issue. I still want to like. I mean, I've been sick as fuck the last week, so I really took a back seat. But yeah, I still want to post like macro analysis, individual stocks, long term theses as a text based format. But I am thinking that like that nightly summary can be done far faster in a video format. Yeah, that's another problem. It's harder to go back and reference levels and stuff throughout the day. I may not go ahead with it. I may just continue to do the text base. Or maybe I'll do the text base at the beginning of the week when we're outlining all the major levels and then do the video like Tuesday through Friday where it's essentially just updating. I do know that some of you had an easier time with it being on video, and it helped some of you kind of see what I do, which may help you build your own base. But also, why would I want to do that? I'll see. Maybe I'll just keep it in my back pocket for when I'm fucking tired or feel like shit, which is probably what'll happen. Turn on the transcript. Oh, but it's so bad, especially when you're doing numbers. I've tried that before. It just makes up random numbers. Well, I kind of actually, well, so that's like a separate thing that I want to do. I guess I could talk to you guys about it. So we're already like, we have pickles picks at night, and like 6 months ago, I started just like screenshotting and posting like stuff I look at basically, um, before I write pickles picks, which is a lot of like desk based macro research, and news and stuff like that. And I post those charts a lot in Pickles Picks. I'm sure you guys have noticed now. And they come from everywhere. Largely, I don't want to pay for like LSEG or anything. I do have access to market if I want to look up specific reports, but it's like limited access. And so usually I just scalp it off like Twitter or wherever I can find the information that I'm looking for. And a lot of those reports are pretty easily found by people who do have Bloomberg terminals. Um, but I look at like specific parts of that. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of macro research that comes out every day. And I kind of just post those as screenshots, but with not a lot of explainer. And I was thinking of like, we have the stream, and I was thinking like sometime between the stream and like Pickles Picks, we do like an hour where we cover, like news and research, and we can like talk about this shit that I post versus me just posting it. But I don't know if I have time to do this every day. This is, hmm, it would be hard. I think it'd be cool, but it'd be hard. I mean, I don't think quantum's really. It's just like a hype bubble. People are running out of room in the AI bubble, so they're chasing the next tech. I would say it's probably very volatile and risky. No, I know. I'm just thinking out loud. Stuff I want to do. Like I'd much rather spend the weekend stream going over like trading than because the market's fucking closed than talking about the market. But it's also the only chance I get to talk like individual equities with you guys. So, and I usually cover trading strategy during the stream when people ask about it. So, but it's not in like a very consolidated place, which makes it great in the moment if you're there, but kind of useless later on. And that's why I made the vibe trading channel for pigeon whales, was that, people could see what I'm trading and they could more, openly discuss trades they were taking during the intraday. And I also just wanted to show off, which is fun. I definitely got the showing off part nailed. That's why pigeon whales are making more money than the pores. What, copy trading me? Alright, fair enough. I don't want 10 million subs. What's going on with Fubo? Is the volatility related to ETF FTDs? Looks like it tested 460 and failed, but starting to form like a cup and handle up to, 661. Still accumulating, I think. It's been pretty consistently accumulating since like May. Boring, if anything. Has there been a lot of volatility? Stock's gone from like 475 to 420. If that's what you think vibe trading is, then rise up and join us in Pigeon Whales. Wait, who? I'm already a pigeon whale. I've been a pigeon whale almost as long as Tom Tom. Tom Tom was the first pigeon whale. Tom Tom's been a pigeon whale for like 52 months or something. He's pigeon whale prime. If we're still looking at tickers, can we look at Tesla? Fuck yeah. Mm, Kevin Max is starting to drift up a little bit away from spot. Uh, G and DN are climbing. I feel like Tesla just hits in earnings and loses all its gains, but yeah, there's some decent erosion and supportive gamma to the downside of 440. My biggest problem with shorting Tesla here is that it's still got room to run out to 450, but there's not a lot of delta there yet. You just have to be careful because the weekly volumes on Tesla options are huge. But I would say it's probably getting close to a pullback. I'm just not sure I'd go with that just yet. Hmm. Yeah, maybe see where Friday's bounce runs out at, and then maybe look for HV10 to get over IV10, and then there might start to be a bit of a shorting opportunity. I mean, I think bulls will back off pre-earnings simply because, well, there's a ton of risk there, right? Like Tesla's earnings have been fucking terrible. They definitely don't support the current price, which is, like 245x earnings. And earnings are October 15th. So, yeah, there might be a little bit of risk off prior to earnings. Maybe it could pull back to like 400, 395, something like that. I think that would be reasonable given where gamma is. But just be careful. There's a little bit of downside support like 35, 25-ish. So pull back to like 415 maybe. Yeah, I could see that. The only problem is it might test 50 first. I don't know. I wonder where you'd confirm. I guess a loss of 30 is the best place to confirm the downside, but it's gotten support below that a couple times now. Mm, even a rejection here would be bearish back to like 420. I mean, I guess watch spot, and then if it fails 40, you could there's probably a short opportunity to the 30 test, and then maybe trim and see if it continues. If it doesn't fail 40, set a stop. Well, the signal's at like 416, 42, so it's a bit tricky. I think the technical signal for a breakdown. And the consolidation right now is still fairly bullish, so it's just high vol. On the daily, that's the signal. So that's like where you'd want to short on a failure. Or like that's where you'd want to enter a short. And then below that, major support is like 370. I guess you would confirm a breakdown on the gap fill at like 95. So if it continued down, you'd probably want to like look to add at what is it? Or 96, 96.69. Elon's $1 billion buy-in has gained him $100 billion in net worth, which is fucking wild. All right. I'm not sure JFresh and Dork are hopping on today. Probably not. So I'll I'll just run through the market macro real quick. Um, if you look at Friday, put leverage moved down a little bit away from spot with the bump in price. So staying at relatively the same level, but spot moving up. Overall, put leverage declined a bit, so probably some profit taking from the bears. Still no uptick in call leverage. Actually, if anything, you see that call leverage out of the money around like 2.4% and above spot actually fell a little. Um, I think Delta on calls near the money picked up a tiny bit. Delta on puts out of the money fell. But most of this with the move in spot, and not really due to significantly increased leverage anywhere. Call leverage was flat pretty much day over day, 486 to 487. Put leverage dropped a little bit more substantially, but also not very much. So I don't think we're opening in a significantly more bullish environment going into tomorrow. The put and call delta and SPY still remains very, very call heavy. QQQ, Nvidia, Tesla, very bullish also. IWM starting to look a little bit worse. So the rally in that might be starting to come to an end. OHI and XRT looking kind of bearish as fuck. OHI has an insane amount of delta relative to its market cap. So does Fixie and Etha. Hmm, interesting. Looks like most options are expiring about 90 days out right now. Yeah. So end of the quarter. Looks like where everyone's piling in for the next one. Right now, that's very call heavy. Um, Obviously, with the downturn, we might see put interest further out pick up. Uh, Over here. So does that mean going into the start of this week? Well, we've got basically nothing for Monday. I think we have some Fed auctions and Fed speaker or auctions and some Fed speakers. I think we get the BOJ summary of opinions tomorrow, but most of tomorrow pretty boring. I think we got a bunch of data out of like the ECB, but yeah, not too much on the U.S. side of things. Japanese retail sales, industrial production, and the summary of opinions are all tomorrow night for Japan. And then we got a bunch of data out of China tomorrow night also. Manufacturing PMIs, which are expected to expand, and rating dogs manufacturing PMIs for China, and services and composites. So I'd imagine the PMI reports will be somewhat important for the yuan. If the yuan picks up, dollar down, that's going to open up more U.S. side leverage, although not great for our overall economic growth and definitely not great for our inflation as the Chinese deflator starts to fall by the wayside. Tuesday, however, we do start to get some more important data. We get German inflation. I think we get Red Book, and then we start getting going into the labor data with JOLTS, alongside the CB board consumer confidence report, which is expected to fall as well. We did see a little bit of a hit to consumer confidence Friday with the final UMISH report. And I think we get Dallas Services Index, which could be somewhat interesting, especially if it pulls back like it's expected to. Wednesday, we get EU inflation. We got ISM manufacturing PMIs, which are projected to pick up. Um, then Thursday, I think we get a bunch more jobs data. We're going to get jobless claims, and challenger job cuts. What day do we get ADP? ADP comes in on Wednesday. And then Friday, obviously, EU PPIs, more PMIs from Europe and Great Britain, and then we get non-farm payrolls and unemployment. And those are probably going to be the most important. That's probably the most important data of the week. I think we also get ISM services, which is that leading indicator of CPI. And now, with potentially no CPI and PPI reports, might just be the only indication we get of CPI. So I think ISM pricing and GDP pricing are going to start to become a lot more relevant if the BLS starts pulling back its data releases. Well, not only the government shutdown, but yeah, data releases. So Wednesday is supposed to be the deadline for the shutdown. I don't know if Democrats will push for it, but given that Trump's literally using the National Guard to invade cities, and use force against U.S. citizens, maybe it's a good idea to shut down the government. I know that doesn't affect military, but it affects all of their contractors and their suppliers. Yeah, they will. They always cave. Shockingly, at the end of the day, they want their paycheck too. But if they had the interests of mm, the people that elected them at heart, they would not. When your representatives no longer represent you, you live in a. Me too. Are you going to go on vacation? Or are you going to hang out for the night of the long knives? George's going to be so jealous when we're sharing a cell in El Salvador. How do they can more easily declare martial law under a shutdown? Have you learned nothing about Trump? Why does he need legal precedent? He just will stand up on stage and go, I declare martial law. The man's illiterate. Anyway, so what does that mean for this week? Well, depending on where we expect to see employment data, I would say we probably get one of two outcomes. I think tomorrow, most likely up. Mm, maybe in like the 66 to 66-70 range. And then Jolts, depending. If Jolts is bad, new all-time high, and we price up Fed rate cuts again, or Jolts is strong, and we take a little bit of a hit so we can confirm on the NFP data. So let's just say flat till Friday. And then I think NFPs are going to be mostly fine now that we're past the glut of lost federal jobs. So maybe just flat on the week. Like that. If labor's really strong, we would probably just split off from like this point. Like that. Into the end of the week. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't want to bet on a government shutdown. I'll agree. There's an actual reason for shutting down the government right now, which there rarely is. Um, but I mean, the media has blown it out of proportion. What, like 50 times since we all started doing this, and it's always led to a last minute resolution. The Democrats do have a policy that they want enacted, and they can stand on that ground for some time if they want to. When do we organize against our own government? This has gone way too far, and no one's stopping it. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna fucking stay here and fight this system. If the government gets shut down, it's probably not initially bearish, but becomes significantly more bearish over time, the longer it lasts. They started shorting volatility pretty hard on Friday. They'll probably keep it up through tomorrow. Then, they're going to have to let it unpin a little bit with the rise in event vol into labor data. But that'll hinge on the JOLTS report. Where's a good option? I don't know. Southeast Asia, Western Europe. Ooh, South America. I actually like South America. I don't think anybody's gonna waste their bombs there. Europe, yeah, carries some risk from Russia, but Russia can barely take over Ukraine. So, unless they're going to start nuking Europe, which I highly doubt, then I don't think there's a lot to worry about in Europe. Canada just sucks. I mean, well, I'm not going to move to Venezuela. Yeah, maybe like Argentina or Brazil. They have great beaches. Why would I go to Greenland? Singapore, Hong Kong. I live in China. They have a lot more freedoms than we do. My social credit score would be dog shit, but whatever. Japan. Japan's nice. I'm not gonna stay here and live in a country run by fucking rednecks. I'll come back if we fix our shit, but could move to Cyprus. Just eat euros and party on boats. Why would I want to go to French Polynesia? Hmm. Yeah. High speed internet though. Register in Monaco, live on a boat anywhere. Hmm. Hong Kong's sick. Was there this summer for the first time. You can live out your own version of financial blood sport. Jean Claude Pickle. I want to trade options in India. That shit looks horrifically mismanaged. I like living near a beach. I spent like I spent like 10 years living like on the ocean. I have fuck you money as long as it doesn't apply to a specific other wealthier person. But I have like fuck poor people money, you know? So it's not too bad. Should put helmets on them. I want to move to Barcelona, but we'll probably have to settle for Mexico. Same thing. Eric, welcome to Pigeon Whale. You can be wealthy in China as long as you don't criticize the government and stay out of politics. Perfect. What can I possibly criticize their government for? Wanting the best for all of the people? Ensuring the reins of production are in the hands of the proletariat? As long as they keep the shit they're up to off of my social media feed, I can be perfectly content. Is there a separate Discord for the pigeon whales? Separate channels, yeah. Trying to get your social credit score up in advance? Yeah. I want to be able to rent a penthouse apartment for like $1,200 a month. It's so cheap. I could live in a ghost city in like a 7-bedroom with an infinity pool and fiber internet for like nothing. That sounds creepy. Really? Sounds awesome. Pickles Picks Around the World Edition. You guys are gonna love trading the HSI. Well, yeah, the building's not structurally sound if it's full of residents, knuckleballer. But if I'm the only person there, it's fine. Will the stream become a travel trading vlog? No. No matter where I live, the stream will always look like this. Everyone's like, what will Girk do without DoorDash? I'll be fine. Ghosts also don't need to eat. It's true. Maybe you could just get like food from the neighboring city delivered. Vertical farming? Perfect. All right. I think I covered everything, right? Yeah, we're good. So let's wrap this up. Baby farms.